Hey guys, I know it's been a little bit since I posted a video. That is not because I haven't been busy. It's quite the opposite. It's because I've been very busy. If I haven't mentioned it, I have been unbanned. If I have mentioned it, it's probably about the fourth time, and I apologize. I do still have the memory of a tsetse fly. I don't know if that's going to change. But thought you might want to know a little bit about what's going on. Let's look at some code. I know it's super exciting stuff looking at code. So over here we have the list of GM vehicles that is supported in stock. Over here in green are the list of vehicles that we are adding through this port, or fork, if you will. Probably the most exciting item on this list is this one here, the Suburban. It's exciting because it's working, and it's working well. The Suburban, in this case, you notice it's 2019 for some reason. I thought it was a 2020. Anyway, it is using the stock camera-based, which I have learned is also known as VO ACC, or Vision Only Adaptive Cruise Control. At least I know the official name for it now. I've been calling it camera-based ACC, but VOACC is easier to type. So the Suburban is the first GM vehicle that is using pass-through camera-based adaptive cruise. It has no radar, but it does have lane keep assist. We think it has the picky steering column. Not 100% certain on that, but either way, we have it working. Well, surprisingly well, considering it is a diesel, which requires probably like twice the torque on the steering. That has presented a bit of an issue because all of the safety limits are duplicated on the openpilot side and on the Panda side. And there isn't a lot of ability to transport information between the two. You can send this thing called a safety parameter. So I took what used to just be constants, the max steer and deltas and rates and everything, and I threw them into an array. So there is a default version which so far applies to all cars except for the Silverado, which did need some increases. And it then, based on, watch this, I know where the code is, it's amazing. Based on what is sent for param, this GM safety param determines which of those two sets of limits we use. A similar breakdown is set up on the openpilot side. Most of what I've been working on has been code and debugging. As you know, my ability, may or may not know, my ability to drive is a little limited right now. I've got some neuropathy, made it so I can't really feel my feet all that well. It's not that I can't feel them, and it's not that I can't drive. It's that I can't drive well. It's almost as if I kind of need openpilot in order to drive, which is not what openpilot was meant for. But that is another story altogether. Right now, I am actively working in the openpilot Discord with a few guys with some interesting vehicles. We got a Tahoe. I think we might have two Tahoes. We got a Tahoe, two Acadias. Hang on. All right. Skip's got a Silverado. JP Stat's got a Bolt. That Acadia belongs to Very Lucky Guy. I would like to throw out a huge thank you to Very Lucky Guy for starting the process of getting me back in the community. Jason Young, actually, or Jay Young, I can't remember the number. He actually got me unbanned, and I am grateful to him. I'm grateful to the Comma team and everyone for giving me another chance, and I am doing my darndest to stay on topic and under control. Let's see, we got there's a Suburban. Oh, yeah, we got a Silverado and a Suburban. Oh, there's another Tahoe. There's my Bolt. Not sure whose that is. Anyway, so yeah, things have changed since before with Comma Prime. It makes it like at least 75 times easier to help people get set up. So the good news about the Silverado is I am told that the Silverado is something Comma is very interested in adding support for. Keep in mind, anything we add right now will still be considered community supported because we are using the old school fingerprinting method. That is, I guess you could say, on the list of things to try to figure out is to add they call it fingerprinting 2.0. No vehicles that are added will be allowed to go outside of that community support flag without having fingerprinting 2.0. That's down the road though. That may I may drop out before that. I may pass that torch on to somebody else. We shall see. One last thing I thought you might like to see. That is a pedal interceptor. It is the first pedal interceptor I have built in, I would say, over a year. I'm not entirely sure how JP Stat got me to do it. I don't remember. He must have been really nice, but anyway, I wasn't. I don't know. I hadn't decided what to do about the hardware thing. If you aren't aware, I've refunded almost everybody who ordered something. Just because I didn't know, and I still don't know when I'm going to be reaching a steady state or reaching a production quality where I feel comfortable with what I'm building and selling, and it wasn't fair to make people wait any longer. Well, I hesitate to say this because I have exhausted my resources by sending out these refunds. If you still want a refund, send that email to support@standbacklabs.com. I really hope you don't, though, because I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Anyhow, if you're still waiting on parts from me and you are, wanting them, also, give me a ping. Just let me know that you are still patiently waiting, and guilt may lead me to jump at the opportunity to help you out. Anyway, I just thought this looked a little nicer. This is kind of cool, the wrapping, but I actually wrapped the wires. I threw a little, it doesn't look so super pretty, but I threw a little super glue in there to kind of seal these wires in place. I double checked that everything fit. This connector is the first connector I've used from a bag of over 100 of them that I got from China that I hadn't opened yet even. But the spool of terminals that I had picked up to go with them worked perfectly. And on the other side, I just happened to have one of these laying around. I'm not going to go crazy, but I just want to... Part of what stopped me from sending these out was one of the guys I was working with pretty closely had one fail catastrophically when he attempted to take it apart. That is not happening on this one. I have connected it and disconnected it several times, and it's nice, and I think I gave him the old material that wasn't flexible. So while I have been unable to manufacture these things and ship them out, there's a gentleman on the Discord goes by the name Tiny Bear, who has been selling them. I totally endorse the guy. He's awesome. His he was super respectful about it. When I first found out he was selling them, somebody was like, "Hey, this guy is selling your stuff on the side," and it was nothing like that. He was stepping in where I was not able to, and he's, as far as I can tell, his products are good quality. They're probably even better prices than mine. This guy here, right now, I haven't looked at the market, but this is still going for $300, just based on my understanding of how much they cost. And I only had one of these left anyway, so if I have to make any more, I've got to figure out how to print them again. I have the parts to make, I want to say 20 of these, maybe somewhere between 10 and 20 of these. The gas pedal interceptors. Unfortunately, yeah, there's a partially assembled. You can see I've already done all the hard work. I was using some really old solder when I did this. I've got much better solder now. I have a much better soldering iron now. It didn't cost that much. Can you believe it? No joke. A good portion of the trouble I was dealing with is because I had an old Weller soldering iron instead of one of these beautiful modern $30 ceramic temperature controlled jobbies. Take a look at that. There's the heater, and the heater is this ceramic thing that goes right up against that tip. It heats up faster than, insert some idiom for fastness here. Third thing here. It heats up really fast is what I'm trying to get at. And it maintains an accurate temperature. And it was like $30. I can't believe I didn't get one of these sooner. It's life-changing having a temperature-controlled soldering iron. My gosh. I can't even imagine how much easier my life would have been all along. So, long story short story boring. I made another interceptor. I'm going to go test it, and then I'm going to ship it out to the guy. I am not opening up my store again yet. I may not ever. I haven't decided. I may choose to, instead of going into manufacture, I may just design stuff and then pass it off to Tiny Bear or somebody else. It is my intention to get everything I do back open source. I had a little bit of a tiff, and I took stuff down. I'm putting it back up as I get to it. Oh, gosh. I almost forgot to tell you what I would call the most exciting part. I didn't write this. Jason Young wrote this. This is an attempt to fix that power steering crash issue. This is in stock right now. This is in stock openpilot. It doesn't work 100%. It certainly reduces the incidence of power steering faults, but it's not perfect, and we're working on that. I feel confident. I don't say confident, but I feel hopeful that we will find a way to at least get it down to a tolerable level, like almost never faulting. Part of the issue that we are potentially discovering is, so the code that runs on the Panda, that's an old Panda. There's a black Panda. There's a Panda built into the Comma 2. It's the little embedded device that actually connects to the car itself. That code is there to double check safety things, and just it's supposed to be, as Jason Young explained it to me, all of these checks are supposed to be sort of like circuit breakers or fuses. And if we go down here where we see this violation equals, you can't see it, violation equals 0, and then we do all these tests, max limit check, driver limit check, rate limit check. When a violation occurs, As it was explained to me, that is supposed to be considered a very, very bad thing that should never, ever happen, or rarely ever happen. It's been happening with the GM port all along, more than likely. But because the power steering control module did not care in the Chevy Volt and a lot of other cars, the cars that are currently supported, doesn't care if there's missing, the rolling counter values go missing, and if they're too close together, too far apart, it does not fault. We've been unaware. So while it is a little frustrating to know that I have a fix that's like 5 lines that I could put in the Panda code, I understand why Comma does not want to do it. They would rather fix the underlying issue than throw in a hacky workaround. In my opinion, it's not so hacky. My opinion is not always correct, and I am happy to accept the opinions of the people who actually know what the heck they're doing. If you are ready to take the plunge, let's say that you've been using my port back from 2019 or 2020, and you would like to get up to date, we can do it. Right now, I don't even think you'll need to buy any new hardware unless you happen to have a first generation EON. As long as you've got an EON Gold or newer, I believe I even have it working with white pandas and gray pandas. I know it functions with a gray panda. I found a cheesy workaround. I may have already talked about it. Like I said, my memory is pretty much shot. But if you are ready to take that plunge and to get to a newer version, here it is. OPGM. I got my name out of it. OPGM openpilot. And you will want to use the dev branch. Feel free to give it a shot. This is running. I mean, you can see I'm only 6 commits behind Comma. The last time I merged upstream was like Christmas Eve, so we're not that far off. I have been doing my best to keep this dev branch in line with Comma's master branch. The plan is eventually, yes, I've got lots of branches, but eventually main is what most people will use, or I'll set up a release branch that is compiled, and then I will have my own installation URL, so you don't have to use the Smith MISKOL installer. This does work on the Comma 2, the Comma 3, and the EON. Works with the black panda, the gray panda, and probably the white panda, although you will get warnings about missing GPS data. It does work with the pedal interceptor, but not well at all. It's bad. It's very bad. It's you may remember, if you've been following along, that using the pedal interceptor at low speeds was a recipe for a a crazy ride, like bucking bronco style. Well, that kind of happens at highway speed now too, and I don't know why. It doesn't work well either in L mode or L mode, in the single pedal mode or normal mode. Those don't work well. But I don't know if you find this stuff exciting at all, but I actually do have some pull requests that have been upstreamed. They aren't exciting pull requests, but little things like fixing the build failures, some missing references and stuff. Looks like I'm doing things in ways different than others do. I think most of the Comma team and probably most of the developers are using Macs. I am using Ubuntu on a laptop that is fairly old. Nevertheless, this is the one I wanted to point out, which did get upstreamed, so it is in stock. These are the 2 new messages that we have finally upstreamed into the database file for vehicle messages. It's OpenDBC. This one here is the one that I guess you could say I reverse engineered, sort of. Or I should say I've started reverse engineering. This is the one that most cars that have lane keep assist have auto emergency braking. Even if they don't have adaptive cruise. If I can hijack this functionality to apply friction brakes, a combination of a pedal interceptor and that would provide pretty much full coverage for the longitudinal, the adaptive cruise, for both electric and gas cars. On electric cars, we can just use the pedal interceptor in single pedal mode, and we use regenerative braking. It's not as good as friction braking if somebody stops fast in front of you, but not all excuse me, not all of those adaptive cruise systems in stock vehicles handle fast stops. That sometimes falls back on the auto emergency braking, which generally is a slam on the brakes and stop 2 inches from the bumper in front of you kind of thing. In order to continue working on this, I do need to test it again. I need to activate it. Hopefully you've seen my amusing videos in which I tested it using a cardboard cutout of a person. I need to do that again. I'm thinking this time, though, I may work with local authorities of some kind, like fire department or police, to test it on pavement of some kind. I don't personally have access to any paved surfaces that are private that have enough distance to stop and test this. You have to get up to like 25 miles an hour, 88 miles per hour. Actually, I'm kidding. Although, that's not to say it wouldn't be a good idea to test it at many speeds. But I need to actuate it, and I do need to actuate it on pavement instead of dirt, because I'm assuming the way that this value, the braking force value, is going to be dependent on, how well it's able to stop. When you're stopping on dirt, you're getting that grinding, awful ABS sound. I don't know what it does on pavement. I'm assuming it stops a lot harder on pavement. But this is a number. It's not a big number. I think it says it's 2 bits. It's small. It's like 0 to 256 or something like that. But I don't know for sure. I need to test it again to find out. And so we shall. All right, one last. Oh, geez. It's always these more things. So, because Kama is excited about getting that Silverado, they are now interested in at least the parts of my port that will get the Silverado running. I have been very slowly, bit by bit, trying to piece it out, part it out. I've since learned the best way to do these pull requests is to make them small and easily testable. And testing is something I hadn't really done a lot of. So, like this one here, there's very little impact to adding new messages. So this one was easy to bring in. I have another one where I switched it from using one message to another, which would impact all the cars, which wouldn't be such a big deal, except that GM doesn't have a good collection of test routes. And the test routes are essentially, it runs those test routes to simulate driving it in a car. And if I'm switching from accelerator pedal 1 to accelerator pedal 2, we need to test to make sure that it will still see the correct values. We're close on that one, but anyway, point is, Comma.ai, the folks at Comma want this. At least they want the Silverado. To bring in the Silverado, we're going to have to lay all the groundwork necessary to get the Bolt. With the exception of the pedal interceptor, I don't know if they're going to let us add that. If you happen to have a 2022 Chevy Bolt with adaptive cruise, however, the Silverado and the Bolt are going to function identical. The Bolt, the 2022 Chevy Bolt, may very well be the first and possibly only Chevy Bolt to make it into Comma's supported list. That is something worth being excited about, I think. I can't remember if I posted the video, but I did cross-flash the brake controller firmware on my car. That's what this message here is about. The camera-based adaptive cruise sends its friction brake commands over the main powertrain bus. I would say, I don't want to say older, but the cars that have radar typically send it on a secondary bus known as the chassis bus. Well, most of what I've been doing hasn't needed the chassis bus, and those camera-based ones don't need the chassis bus either. Now that we have this friction brake command set up on the powertrain bus, it's going to be possible to let openpilot do the adaptive cruise for cars that have camera-based adaptive cruise if we want to. We have the option now. Okay, yeah, I was gonna try to show you, well, let's see, maybe it's loading now. It's having some speed issues. GitHub seems to be a little sluggish today. Here we go. This is the list of currently supported cars, and these are not even community supported. And notice, quite a few of them actually do use the stock adaptive cruise. It's almost looking, as I'm scrolling down here, like it's about half and half. Right now on GM, did I not see that we don't have any Chevys? All of the GM vehicles currently use openpilot because all of the currently listed GM vehicles have this thing called an ASCM, it's Active Safety Control Module, something like that. And we haven't been able, or we haven't tried or whatever, to pass through the stock adaptive cruise with an ASCM. There is a gentleman who is offering to let me borrow his Suburban for a couple months, so that and his Suburban, we're fairly certain it has an ASCM in it. Since I haven't had a car with an ASCM to play with, I haven't been able to do anything for people with ASCMs. His car being potentially the first one I might be able to get my hands on, I've got some thoughts. I'm just wondering, what would be the problem if instead of requiring openpilot to take over adaptive cruise, what if we could let the ASCM handle it and just have openpilot take over steering? I've got some ideas, and I think it might dramatically simplify the connection to those cars like the Volt and that. I think what we would then be able to do is, instead of disconnecting everything, leave everything in place, and all we would have to intercept is the steering messages. Everything else we pass through, we just intercept the steering messages. We might be able to leave that ASCM online. We might be able to leave the radar connected to the ASCM. We would leave the front-facing camera online. The whole system would stay online and functional. You wouldn't lose calibration with the radar. You would still get your emergency braking, which is lost currently. And all that, pedestrian avoidance, auto bright on the headlights, all that stuff. since I don't know the history, I don't know why they didn't do it that way in the first place. Maybe it is preferable to use openpilot when you can. Maybe it didn't try. I want to try. It doesn't hurt to try, right? All right, last exciting thing. Since they are interested in that Silverado, and that Silverado is using a camera harness. Here's my schematic for the camera harness that does need some work. But if we are upstreaming it, that means we will be upstreaming this. That's super exciting. As much fun as it is, I'm being sarcastic, to crimp 48 connections using these things. As much as I love all that crimping. Wait, is it 48? These things have 25. There's 25 on there, and then each of these have 12. So yeah, 48. It's awful. I'm glad that Tiny Bear has found a way to... Oh yes, Tiny Bear also makes these right now, too. And his look nicer than mine did. But anyway, I want to come up with something that Kama will accept and upstream, because we will need to in order to upstream the Silverado. The last little piece would be the... oh, it's not this. On the harness... right now, where is it? Oh, it doesn't. I'm not even showing what it is. There it is. Pin 11 is the single wire GM LAN. On most cars, I want to say on at least one Equinox, I have seen this GM LAN wire be also on pin 12 instead. So, and there are some pins that are just never used. There are 2 pins that are not used. Pin 2, I believe universally is unused, so maybe we don't need it. And either pin 11 or pin 12. It's usually pin 12, but not always. And this is where things get a little complicated. The current harness doesn't even look at the single wire GM LAN, so it doesn't matter. But it will. I am in the process of reverse engineering the gateway, the low speed to high speed CAN bus gateway, which I intend to either incorporate into the harness, or Tiny Bear suggested just making a thing that you can just plug in line that just takes 2 wires on one side, 1 wire and ground on the other. Not a bad idea. Oh, and power. It probably needs some power too. It's not a bad idea. One last thing to mention. This is the last thing. There are a group of people currently who cannot use openpilot at all. Those are people who have a 2019 Chevy Volt, or maybe even the 2018, but I think it started with the 2019. GM added this security gateway that blocks all the important messages from that OBD2 port, under the dash. Cars that have an ASCM, that is, cars that have radar, currently we don't have a means of using openpilot with them if the OBD2 port doesn't work. So they've been SOL. A lot of people have been SOL because of that. I had a brainstorm. The most popular harness for the GM cars is called the L&P harness. It connects to the ASCM in the back. It gives you a little switch that'll flip the fuse on and off so you don't leave the radar on all the time. It's kind of cool. I talked to the guy who built that about modifying it in such a way that it should enable those 2019 cars to work. That could open it up to a group of vehicles that have radar but also have that filter. They will be opened up. Then we get this thing done and implemented, and we open up the rest of them. I feel like we are on the brink of cracking open all these GM cars. Even if we can't get them on the supported list, we have in this OPGM port, we have a very, very, very close to openpilot stock. I am keeping it as minimalistic as possible. Very close to openpilot stock port that I intend to have set up to automatically keep itself up to date once I'm done, if I get done. I may even be handing it off to someone. We'll see. But the point is, one way or another, it's going to become much easier to get almost any GM car that has lane keep assist working with openpilot. So you've got level 2 automation. It's going to be great. Going to be awesome. Lastly, I wanted to thank my Patreon supporters. I want you guys to know that even though I am still working on doing more posting on Patreon, and getting that whole exclusive content, getting people who are on I keep forgetting. People who are Patreon members, giving them priority as to what projects we work on or features we add, etc. That's coming. But right now, I am in a situation where things are tight. I've been trying not to ask, and I'm going to continue trying not to ask, but I'm just going to toss it out there. If you think you could, or if you like this content, you want to see more, you want to see this reach completion, and you want to see me able to feed myself and my son and, get the parts I need to build stuff, your support is greatly appreciated and would be greatly appreciated. I will put the links in the description below for my Patreon page, or if you prefer to do just a one-time, hey, this looks cool, here you go, you can PayPal me as well. You don't have to. I just appreciate the fact that you're watching, and that's great. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you really want to see more, hit that bell and do the thing. Otherwise, have a great day.